Hello everyone, I'm doing a comparison video between the MacBook Air 13-inch M4 13.6 and the Mac Mini. With the Black Friday sales and the holiday season, folks are looking to get these on a discount, and they've been discounted pretty significantly overall. And also, what are the pros and cons of each? So we'll kind of weigh those things. Now, right now for Black Friday, you can get the MacBook Air as low as $749. I've seen it at some places, Costco, Best Buy, Amazon. $799 also seems to be kind of the general sale price. So that's kind of the go-to occasional sale price of $799. So if you can snag it for $749, that would be the way to go, obviously. The Mac Mini has regularly been on sale for $499, and it's been as low as $449 brand new. Now, obviously, if you look around, you go on Slick Deals, you can get new open box or like new open box and things of that nature for cheaper prices. So I've seen here as low as $657. These things happen pretty quickly. I noticed when Best Buy changes the prices, the price will adjust and then kind of readjust in terms of open box items. So, but $749 seems to be kind of like the standard sale for the Air, and $449 I would say is probably where it's at for the Mini, although $499 is much more common. Here Best Buy has it for $479. Again, that could be Black Friday. These things will go off and on sale. So what is the actual value you're getting for each? Like there's a $300 price difference. Say you're at $749 here and you're $449 here. Now in terms of performance, there's not much of a difference. Technically speaking, I guess the Mini has slight uptick in performance on some benchmarks, but I'm not noticing a noticeable difference whatsoever. Now, having said that, you're saving $300, but you're also needing to do other things. If you're going to try to do this on the cheap, then that's the way to do it, right? Is like, I'm going to do it as inexpensively as possible, and you do not need the portability, then the Mac Mini could be the way to go. You get this for $449 brand new. On the used market, you can get them as low as $350. And for the M4 chip, 256 gigabytes, with the ports that it has and everything, the performance that it has, that's an absolute, it's the $449 is like the best deal in computing as far as I'm concerned. So, but if you're going to do this, you're going to have to add a screen. So you can do it on the cheap. I got a cheapy Huawei screen that I picked up on Amazon for $50, 16-inch screen, which will give you a bigger screen than the MacBook Air, but you're adding $60 to the price. If you go with accessories, like you're going to need a keyboard, so you can add a mouse, right? So here's your keyboard and mouse, $20 on Amazon here, got this for $10 at Best Buy. So now we're basically up to about an extra $100 to add the things you need, if you do it on the cheap, okay? If you don't do it on the cheap and you want to use Apple products, then you're talking about Magic Mouse, Apple keyboard. If you get the one with the Touch ID, you're talking about at least $100 when it's on sale for the short one. If you need the long one, that's a different price. The Magic Mouse, I've seen them as low as $50, $60. So if you do that, and then you want to get the cheapest Apple monitor, you're talking about another $1,200 to $1,500. At that point, you might as well just get an iMac, right? That's what I would advise. Because the cost effectiveness kind of diminishes in value. Personally, if you're going to start upgrading these, I would consider maybe the options to go with the Pro models, depending upon how much of an upgrade you need. If it's just a little bit of extra storage, I still don't think it's worth it, frankly. I would just pay for extra storage, but it's, that's your call. So once you do the add-ons, if you do them on the cheap, right, for the Mac Mini, you can add an extra $100, $150 to get you the mouse, the keyboard, and the monitor, okay? Maybe if you want a nicer desktop monitor, 27-inch or what have you, that might run you $150, $200. Again, these are the cheapest you can find on Amazon type stuff. Okay, so now you're pretty much at the same price. So what are the other differences? If all things are equal, well, with the Mac Mini, you get more ports, right? USB-C, USB-C, you get the headphone jack, which doesn't exist in many places anymore. This is just the power bank. You get an Ethernet cable, which also doesn't exist on the Air, an HDMI port, which doesn't exist on the Air, and you get 3 more USB-C ports and 1 Lightning port here. So you have 5 USB-C ports, 1 HDMI port, and an Ethernet port. Can you make this a portable device to carry with you everywhere? As long as you have somewhere to plug in, you can. You can take your monitor and your Mac Mini, and you can get a smaller one. You can get a 14-inch or 14-inch, 15-inch monitor, and your Mac Mini and your keyboard and you can put that in your backpack because this thing is hecka light. So that's not a problem. But again, cost effectiveness, if you want to do it as cheaply as possible, the Mac Mini is the way to go. But again, you're sacrificing portability. Now with the MacBook Air, what do you get? Well, you don't get as many ports. You only get the 2 USB-C ports, right? And you get the power port there, and then you do have one headphone jack port. So so there's that. I will say the speakers are better on the MacBook Air than they are on the Mac Mini. So again, if speakers are an issue, then, or if you use this as like a main device kind of thing and you want a nice speaker system, you can put a Power Beats pill on this thing and, that'll be $100 or whatever you're going to put on there. Get some desktop speakers. There's another $150, $100, $150. So if you want all the ports and desktop performance, again, this is the way to go. But you have to understand that you're sacrificing a few things, right? You're sacrificing portability and the cost effectiveness. Once you do all the add-ons, depending upon your needs, is also going to be an issue. The other thing is that you're not going to get a camera. Now, the M4 MacBook Air 13-inch does not have the potato cam that it used to have, so it's a much better camera, than its predecessors. Anything M3 and below, you're going to get that cheap potato cam. This one has a much better camera, so there's that. This, you're going to also have to buy a camera if you live on Zoom, like for work or for school or whatever. So that's another expense. Again, I'm not discouraging you from this, but just know that it's not necessarily equal, right? You're not necessarily getting it super as cheap, perhaps, or as much as having as much of a discount as you might think. So those are basically the main differences. The screen here is nice. It's nice enough. It's not obviously the pro level screens, but it's solid. So I'm okay with the MacBook Air 13-inch screen. 15-inch I think is ideal spot, if you have aging eyes like myself, but 13-inch is fine. It's extremely portable. The typing experience, for me, this is actually the best typing experience on any device that I have. However, I will say if you want a portable keyboard and you're kind of like, you like a particular type of keyboard, then this would be, obviously you can customize that to your liking. So that's the other portion, right? $300 less, but you have to spend more money to make this completely work. But with that, you get to customize as you wish, as big of a screen as you want, or as small of a screen as you want. What kind of speakers you want, nicer speakers. You can do everything better with this in terms of the peripheries, right? Like the speakers, the camera, the screen, the keyboard, everything. So that's kind of what you need to decide when you make this purchase. And you're going to essentially sacrifice portability. Now, will this work with an iPad? That if you have an iPad already, then that's an expense you've already incurred. Then you can use this with the iPad and, you'll be fine that way. That could serve as your screen if you're happy with that. So again, there's a lot of mixing and matching, a lot of pros and cons here. I think both of them are great options for the price, especially at $799, $749. There's nothing on the other side of it. I mean, I prefer Android, but in terms of computers, OS, like I prefer. Actually, I do like Windows a lot, but I prefer. The power, the lack of heating, all of that stuff. I mean, these things blow away everything on the PC side. It's just what it is. Maybe outside of gaming, right? Some specific gaming computers, and even the gaming stuff. You need to cool that down if you're really serious about it. So, there's that. So that's pretty much it. I just want to do this comparison video to kind of weigh the pros and cons. I've done these videos with respect to the Pro versus the Air. I'll do one on the 13 and 15-inch Air in a little bit. I have some other videos, though, when I compare the different types of Mac offerings, 16-inch versus 14-inch Pros, 15-inch versus 14-inch Air and Pro. And so this is the Mac Mini versus the MacBook Air 13-inch. Okay? Well, that's all I got for now. I hope you're well. I hope your family's well, and take care of yourself.